Hello there and good evening. This is the first episode of ELIMU MASHINANI, and from tonight, Citizen TV, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, embarks on a countrywide tour of the country to discuss education matters, a conversation that we must have for our country. And so we're coming live to you from the Masai Mara University in Narok town, the capital of Narok County. Tonight, for the very first time, we have in one room the leadership of the Ministry of Education, led by the Cabinet Secretary, Julius Migos Ogamba, the Principal Secretary for Basic Education, Professor Julius Bitok, the Principal Secretary at the Higher Education Department, Dr. Beatrice Inyangala, and the Principal Secretary in TVET, that is Dr. Esther Moria. I am Sam Gituku, and I am with Mashirima Kapombe.
Na bila shaka Sam Gituku, hii leo ikiwa ni siku ambapo tunapata nafasi ya kuuliza maswali, kushiriki kwenye mdahalo huu kuhusiana na elimu. Na upande huu tuko na walimu, tuko na wazazi, tuko na wanafunzi, tuko na vyama vinavyotetea maslahi ya walimu. Wote wako hapa na wataweza kutueleza ni wapi ambao wanahisi kwamba wizara inapaswa kukaza kamba, ni wapi ambapo wanafanya vizuri, na mengi zaidi ambayo yatatoka upande huu. Lakini kwanza tuweze kupata yale ambayo yalisemwa na baadhi ya wananchi katika kaunti hii ya Narok.
Let's focus on some essential statistics about the Narok County, looking at the numbers in concerning the ELIMU there, or education if you like. And Narok County, according to the census of 2019, has a population of 1.16 million. Of course, this figure must have gone higher by now. Comparing that against the total population then was 47.7 million people. In those that are in school at the time was 46%, comparing to the national average of 40.7%. So this may tell you that it has a slightly younger population than some parts of the country. But there's a population that has never been to school, 27% in Narok. The national average is 16.3%. That is essential because it tells you that there are more people in Narok who've never been to school as compared to the national average. That should tell you a few things about the county. Now, in terms of the institutions that are in Narok County, for early childhood development education, there's 1,266 institutions in that county. The population in those institutions is just over 82,000. In primary schools, you're talking about 1,034 institutions, a population of 293,000. It tells you again that there's a younger population that are in the lower classes compared to the total of 542,000 that are in school. This is according to the data from the Ministry of Education. For JSS, there are 833 junior secondary school institutions housing some 98,000 students. So for secondary school, we are talking about 218 institutions housing some 68,000. So it tells you, you can see the number of institutions keeps going down as the higher you go. For special needs education, you have 22 institutions housing some 858 students. Let's focus on something else when it comes to concerns in the county of Narok. And this is about still on the institutions. Vocational centers, you have 9 institutions housing some 1,484 in number. TVET institutions, you have 15, accommodating some 5,000 learners. For Teachers Training College, there's only one with a population of 1,592. There's one university, this is Masai Mara University, with 12,000 student population. What's more, in the next slide, you will see what else is happening. This is on the enrollment by gender. So at the lower levels, you'll see that the numbers in favor of boys. So early childhood education, 50.8% are boys. For the girls, it's the balance of 49.2%. Primary school is 50.9% boys, 49% girls. But when you get to junior secondary, the scales tilt because 49.9% is boys and 50% are girls. So almost gender parity at that level, but you can see the boys reducing. Then at the secondary level, you're 49.7% being boys and 50.3% being girls. So what are the cultural realities affecting that particular county? And these are just some of the figures about the situation of education in Narok County, and we'll look at more figures as the conversation continues.
Ni takwimu hizo kutoka kaunti ya Narok kuhusiana na hali ya elimu. Hebu sasa tumrushie Sam Gituku ili aweze kuendelea na mdahalo huu, kisha tutawasikiza wananchi wa Narok baadaye, huku tukipata maswali kutoka upande huu. Sam.
Thank you, Mashirima, for that. And let's begin with the Cabinet Secretary here, Julius Ogamba, because a lot has been going on in the education sector. Many concerns, whether it comes from transition questions, especially for grade 9 going to grade 10. There are also questions of funding. But generally, from your point of view, where would you put the state of education in the country?
Thank you, Sam, and good evening, everyone. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for this engagement as citizens and people of Kenya. We decided that it is important for us to have this forum in order for us to discuss the education sector, to let you know what has happened and what the government has done so far in the sector, where we are today and where we intend to go. As you are aware, the education sector is a very sensitive area, and that is why you mentioned that there are many sticking points. And we thought it's critical for us to have this engagement so that we can inform Kenyans about what is happening in the sector in order to be able to even respond to any of the challenges, any of the questions that they have. This particular sector, as you are aware, has been undergoing an education transformation. We are doing one of the biggest education reforms that has ever taken place in this country, and you are aware we are changing the system from the 844 system to the competency-based education system. This system started in 2012, and as of last year, when we had the challenge of how do we transition grade 8 to grade 9, you are aware that that time, because the decision was reached through the presidential working party that had gone around the country, where the Kenyans indicated that they would like the junior school to be domiciled in primary school. So it was critical for us to have the infrastructure required to be able to transition grade 8 students to grade 9. And last year it was a very big challenge. An assessment was done. We did require to do 16,000 classrooms in order to be able to do that transition. And we started doing those classrooms in October, and by February last year, we had done the 16,000 classrooms, together with another 7,000 that we did in conjunction with the CDF team. So we have a total of 23,000 classrooms done in junior schools in order to transition grade 8 to grade 9, and that was done. At that point, there was a bit of a challenge and there was a bit of a worry that we might not be able to settle grade 8 students into grade 9. Now we have the grade 9 students who are supposed to transition to next year, grade 10. And of course, there are issues in that space relating to what are the pathways that they are going to take, the students, what schools are they going to go to, have they understood the transition, have they understood how to select the pathways and how to select the category of the schools? And the answer to that question is yes. The grade 9 students have been able from July this year to start the process of choosing their pathways, and we have 3 pathways. We have the STEM, we have the social sciences, and we have the sports and arts pathways that is based on the competency-based education, which requires that we look at the student holistically so that we encourage the talent of the student to be part and parcel of the education system so that we do not only rely on the exam. And that's why we are in this process now of transitioning them to grade 10. And as you are aware, this year, 2025, we did not have Form 1s. And 2026, there are Form 4s who will be leaving to transition to university. So we'll have 2 classes, but we'll have the infrastructure of the Form 1s who are not there, and the Form 4s will be leaving. So the transition of grade 9 students to grade 10 would be very, very smooth. I'll be able to discuss the other issues as we move along.
For sure, we'll get into the details of those pertinent issues. But Professor Bitok, this evening we're actually reporting on Citizen TV of schools that are reporting challenges in accessing resources. Some 400 schools in Machakos County, for instance, reporting that capitation has not come in. Please appraise us on the status of this capitation and what are the challenges that they're witnessing this term.
Okay, Sam, allow me to join the CS in appreciating the Royal Media for coming up with this very important program, together with also our host, Masai Mara University. And just to begin by saying that this ELIMU MASHINANI is really an opportunity for us to listen to the public on what are the sentiments, particularly when we're starting here in NAROK. I want to say that when you look at where we have come from in terms of education, we had 47 county engagements. Then we had a national conversation on the 24th. And today, we are here in NAROK because we want to listen more, because we believe that education is about listening to the stakeholders, engaging the stakeholders, and being able to capture. And I want to say that one of the recommendations of the Presidential Working Party on education reform in 2023 was continuous engagement with the stakeholders so that we can be able to refine our systems, we refine our education programs, we try to reform and refine everything else we are doing. Now, coming back to capitation, I want to confirm to the country that the government has released the first batch of capitation to schools. That was done last week. Indeed, we received the money from National Treasury on Wednesday. Then we started now working on a system of verification. As you are aware, there was a damning audit, special audit report from the Auditor General, which say that some of the monies that are being released are not necessarily going to the right schools. And the government decided that we have to do verification of the number of learners, the number of schools, where the money is going, the accounts, and everything else. So last week we started the process of verifying, and I want to report that the process is smooth. As of this morning, we had received more than 20,000 out of our 30,000 schools who have verified their results. And I want to say that the process...
What level is that?
That is like 20,000 out of 30,000.
Primary
schools,
or secondary?
Oh, across the board.
Okay.
The total number of schools across the board is 30,000.
Okay.
So, and by this morning, we had received verifications from more than 20,000 schools, meaning that by this coming Friday, all the schools, with the support of our county directors of education, sub-county directors of education, will have verified to confirm that the number of learners in each school are accurate, the number of schools are accurate, the accounts given are accurate, so that we are able to deal with this perception that we are not sending money to the right school. So we are really on track to ensure that we have the right number of learners getting this capitation. Okay. So overall, I want to say the state of CBE education is strong in the country. Thank you.
All right, and of course we'll get to the details so that also you can explain to us, for those schools that are complaining, what is it that they haven't done. Dr. Nyangala, from the higher education institutions, so this is also the semester that a lot of changes are taking effect, whether it's students that are joining first year or the revision that we saw with the costing of programs. Perhaps tell us how far that is, and also when you reduced the costs per course, what happened to what the university needed to run the institutions?
So thank you very much. It's good to be here with our CS and colleagues so that we look at the education sector holistically, because from the basic, then the students transition to the university, and that is what is happening right now. And I must say that so far we placed 183,000 students. And until this evening, so far 138,000 had reported, which is 73%. We still have another 2 weeks of universities opening progressively, and so we are seeing very good results. The students are paying the fees, which means that the intervention by the government is working very well. So what happened is that we looked at all the factors, all the parameters that are used to calculate how much it costs to offer a university academic program. And the parameters were set at ideal levels. We recognize that we are not yet there, but we are working towards the ideal. And so just by adjusting the staff-student ratio alone, we were able to lower the cost of program, which translated into lower fees. Right. So for example, a program whose ideal is 1 to 40, the Bachelor of Arts. And when I say 1 to 40, I mean you calculate all the teachers that teach on that program, by the students enrolled in the program. So we adjusted this from 1 to 24 to 1 to 38. So we are still within the quality standards.
Right.
Then also, if you look at, for example, how many lecturers are employed in a program in terms of the professors, their qualifications, there's still scope there to make progress again.
All right, and for you, Dr. Moria, because you're also focusing on where students go after high school. They don't just go to the universities, they also go to vocational training or TVET. How is the status now? Because when you look at a county like NAROK County, it's not reporting a lot of students, not a lot of institutions. How are you doing there?
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you very much for having us, because like my colleagues have said and my boss, we need to be out here, have these conversations, and be able to tweak out what might not be quite right, so that we are able to move together from one sector to another. We are able to move together as a country. So thank you very much for having us. For the TVET, which is the other pathway after Form 4, we are doing our best to ensure that the TVET institutions are requisite, be it in terms of funding, be it in terms of visibility, be it in terms of attitude. Because here before some, you agree with me, a lot of us saw the little institutions that were in the villages and believed that is what TVET was. But some, we have done our best to ensure our visibility is at its top, so that the young people are convinced and convicted that they are coming to a requisite space. As far as funding is concerned, we have also gotten to a level where the funding in the institutions is not quite where we'd want it to be, because money is never enough. Nobody ever had enough money. But we are ensuring that the government is requisitely funding the TVET space, so that we are able to convince the young people that this is the space to go to as well.
All right, and that's just the start of this conversation. You have so much to cover, and especially hearing from the audience that is here, and of course those that may not have managed to get here physically. We'll be getting to those questions shortly from now, as you talk about the capitation, the infrastructure, and obviously the transition that we will be seeing come January. We're taking a short break now.
Punde. Lakini kwanza tuwasikize wananchi kutoka kaunti hii ya Narok.
Katika CDF aangalie sana masomo kwa wasichana wa Kimasai kwanza, ili waweze kupanda juu kimasomo. Wawekewe boarding school, madawati zitengezwe vizuri. Kama ni mahali pa kulala, wawe na security ambayo ni ya kutosha.
Ni vizuri tujaribu kufanya na kuinua elimu katika umasaini.
Mwaka imeisha. Shule zote tunaona watoto hakuna madarasa imejengwa. Kwa hivyo serikali tunaomba watujengee madarasa
na waongeze walimu. Hakuna walimu.
Hatuelewi vizuri venye tunaelekea, venye CBC venye inaelekea. Tunataka serikali tusaidie na iweze kutusaidia venye tunaweza jua venye tunaweza peleka watoto venye wanaenda hivyo venye wanaenda grade 10.
Unaona kwenda hapo mashinani bado mambo na elimu iko chini sana, kwa sababu wanafunzi wanaenda kwenda grade 9, kuna wenye wanaenda grade 10, lakini ukipata mashule bado mashule ni ya matope. Kuna vitu vingi afina labs.
Tunaona kuna mashule hawana stima, bado iko chini.
Mashule iko mbali zaidi. Ukiangalia kama upande ya Negwara, watoto wanaenda karibu kilomita 10 ndio wapate shule.
Na bila shaka maswali yapo kutoka kaunti ya Narok, na pia tuchukue baadhi ya maswali kutoka hapa ukumbini. Tuanze na wewe, tuambie jina lako, unafanya nini na swali lako ni lipi?
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Nambayo Koriata, na mimi ni mwanaharakati na tena mimi ni msasi. Swali langu ni hili, ukiona wasichana wetu kama mambo ya early pregnancies ilikuwa high, juu ilikuwa 51, saizi iko 28%. Na ile swali langu ama maoni yangu ni serikali mtatufanyia aje, kwa sababu ikifika saa 6 ya mchana ama saa 7 msichana anatoka kilomita 5 kwenda kutafuta lunch, ama huyu kijana anatoka kilomita 10 kwenda kutafuta lunch, akirudi saa 8 labda itakuwa imefika saa 9. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali kama wanaweza tutafutia school feeding program. Asante.
Haya, kuna swali lingine hapa kuhusiana na swala la miundombinu.
Good evening. My name is Sinta May Rachel, working with WeWorld. I'm one of the implementing partners here in NAROK, supporting ELIMU MASHINANI. My question is to the CS. We have activities in schools where we are trying to support the ICT implementation, but then the schools, they do not have electricity or solars, and also the network is also a problem. Na maji pia.
Asante sana.
Asante sana. Kwa majina ni Soila Sankale, representing organizations that are non-governmental. I work with Kenya Red Cross NAROK. So my question is on disparities between the children in the urban setup and in the rural setup. Na swali kuu ni kwamba mfumo huu wa CBC unahusisha mwalimu, mzazi na mwanafunzi. Na tunajua kwamba wazazi ambao wako pale mashinani wengi hawajaweza kupata masomo ama elimu. So how do we bring balance between these two children and how do they compete in the job market? Thank you.
Na bila shaka kuna swali hapa ambalo linahusu walimu, na ni swali ambalo litaulizwa na muungano wa KUPPET.
Thank you very much. My name is Sela Kuluo, KUPPET Treasurer NAROK. My question is about hardship. You realize that we have schools that are in hardship areas, but the teachers are not being given the hardship allowance by the government. So we want to ask the government that there was a task force that went around the whole of the county looking at the situations in the schools. So far up to now, there is no implementation of the same. So we request the government to look at Narok County because it's causing a challenge of staffing. Teachers want to move to where there is hardship, and areas without hardship are suffering from shortage of staff. Thank you.
Sam?
All right, asante sana Mashirima for that, and the questions will continue to come in. I don't know if CS, if you'd want to go first. There's some questions about early pregnancies. There are questions about trekking for lunch with the school feeding program. I don't know what you'd want to highlight.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you for those questions. The government has a program that we feed children in ASAL areas and low-income areas in urban centers. Currently, the program is feeding or dealing with 2.6 million children at a cost of about 6 billion Kenya shillings. There is a program that is intended to raise this number to 10 million by the year 2030, depending on whether we'll be able to get resources to be able to undertake that exercise, and we are working towards that number. So what is happening is that we have a program where, because there are so many players in the sector of school feeding, where we'll have a centralized system to get to know who is feeding children where, so that it will be easier to map and allocate resources to where they are most required. So in situations where children are traveling long distances, that is part and parcel of the schools and the institutions that are actually candidates to be included in these programs, and a studies will have to be undertaken to see how to increase this number. So as we increase the number from 2.6, more schools and more children would come into that bracket so that we can be able to feed them. Those distances, of course, they are quite far, and we've realized that when we do the school feeding programs in ASAL areas and low urban income areas in towns, the students are able to be retained in school, they're able to do better, and even the girls are able to be able to perform better in those institutions. So it is the government's plan to increase the number from 2.6 all the way to 10 million. And it's part of that process that is ongoing of determining which particular institutions need to come into that bracket. That would go into the other issue that Kupet has also raised relating to the hardship area. What is happening is that there is a gazettement of hardship areas that was done some times back, but because of the disparities that have now arisen, the government has now started a program of mapping what is the criteria of a hardship area and which areas are these, so that the whole country is mapped and it is known that, for example, if it's NAROK, a portion of it, not all of it probably is going to be hardship area. The hardship area is a hardship area for everybody, so that if it's teachers, they'll get the hardship allowance. If it's the civil servants, they'll get the hardship allowance, so that there is uniformity and there is harmony. So that is the same thing that is now happening, and that mapping is taking place to ensure that no teacher misses out who is operating in hardship area because the gazettement has not been done. So that harmonization is in the process of being done, and I'm seeing the TSC team agreeing with us in that response.
Right.
You will take maybe the question on disparities between the rural area and the urban centers. The implementation of the hardship have actually covered that one. Now, the issue relating to electricity and lack of internet in institutions and lack of solar. So we are trying to come up with a solarization program as a ministry, so that all our institutions have at least electricity, either in solar or using the last mile under KPLC, to ensure that each institution has a particular electricity, so that the students in those institutions can access and can use the gadgets, the computer gadgets, the digital gadgets. In terms of the internet, we are exploring the possibility of partnering with even Starlink, so that in far-flung areas where we do not have electricity, we have the Starlink to power internet in those particular sections. And this is also working quite well for the TVET sector, so that the institutions have at least the internet, so that we can ensure that our students across the country are almost at par. So it is a program that we are working with partners to ensure that those institutions that do not have water, that do not have electricity, that do not have internet, we are able to provide those using many pathways to ensure that they are actually done.
All right. There was a question about the teachers shortage. I don't know if anyone from Teacher Service Commission would want to take that, but first on the question of the quality between rural areas and urban areas.
Thank you very much, Sam, and just to join the CS in saying that indeed I agree with Soipan that there has been a disparity between rural and urban education. And the government is doing everything that is possible to ensure that that gap is bridged. And I want to give 2 or 3 examples. One, in the last 2 years, the government has built 23,000 additional classrooms, largely on rural areas, to support students who are in rural areas. And that is a classic case of trying to bridge the gap. In addition to that, the government has also mapped 1,600 schools without laboratories in the rural areas. And the project is underway. It's a World Bank project which is underway, and we're expecting the labs to be ready by January. In addition to that, the government has been able to employ 76,000 teachers and another 24,000 coming to make it 100,000. Most of these teachers, 90% of them, are going to rural areas, so that they're able to bridge the gap between urban and rural children, because teachers are the most important assets in as far as delivering the curriculum and delivering quality education is concerned. So I want to reaffirm the government's commitment to bridge the gap between urban and rural. And the statistics are very clear that the government is pushing more resources to the rural areas through these labs, through classrooms, through partners, including our faith-based organizations. There are many organizations which are building schools and trying to increase capacity of our schools in the rural areas. So the government is really focused on ensuring that there is equity across the board on matters education.
Okay, Dr. Nyangala, allow me to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll also get an opportunity to respond to some of those pending issues, and of course hear from the audience, and if anyone from Teacher Service Commission would want to say something, we'll give you a chance to do so. We're back in a moment on ELIMU MASHINANI.
uwanjani wako.
Thank you for that. Of course, some of the Kenyans in Narok County are talking about the experiences with the sector of education, and of course, still many questions that are pending. But there were a few issues that were pending here, and Dr. Nyangale wanted to address, especially on education for girls and what you'd want to address as equality. Because also, if you remember, the statistics are showing us that the boys are more in the lower levels, but as you go up, there are more girls with a slight margin. But what exactly is happening in the cultural context for Narok, for instance?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, I wanted to address the issue of the divide between urban and rural, informed and maybe less informed. And this is where universities are coming in, because the role of universities is teaching, research, and community outreach. So most universities are partnering with communities and engaging parents, sensitizing them on the kind of support they need to give to the students to excel in these competency-based education programs. Students also are encouraged to undertake projects within the communities to empower the parents to support their children. And so through these close linkages with the university sector, we are realizing some benefits, and we are confident that they are going to multiply. With regard to the performance of girls, we've had many mentorship programs, especially in collaboration with the non-governmental organizations. The government also runs mentorship programs like the one with the Semaster, which is a center for strengthening the teaching of math and STEM. And these programs have been very impactful in terms of helping the boys and the girls to perform better in the STEM subjects. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Let's hear from the audience here, because I'm sure they have more pressing questions, even as we wait to get a response from Waziri, particularly on the question of teachers, but we're also reflecting on particular details about Narok County. Mashirima?
Naam, Sam, kuna swali kuu kuhusiana na elimu maalum haswa kwa watu wanaoishi na ulemavu. Simama tafadhali, uanze na jina lako alafu utueleze swali lako ni gani.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Naftali Rob, the chairman of Special Needs Education and Early Childhood Education, Masai Mara University. We normally say that disability is not inability. But what has brought about inabilities, especially in our learners with special needs, as we have seen the numbers portrayed there earlier, really going down, is issue awareness. Very good part of the history of special education in this country was establishment of the 47 EAC centers that majorly assess, evaluate, and most importantly, bring awareness to special needs education. But the equipping of those EAC centers in the Republic of late has gone down. What is the ministry doing to ensure that it revitalizes and equipped EACs, that's Educational Assessment Resource Centers, to bring awareness better in ELIMU Mashinani? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kuna swali hapa kutoka kwa uongozi wa wanafunzi.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Victor Mwema, the University Students President. I have only two questions to Waziri. Waziri, you confirmed that the fee for the students who are under new funding model is going to reduce, but in real sense, for the majority of the students, it has increased. What actions is the ministry taking to make sure that this fee is going to reduce and also release capitation for the last semester?
Thank you. Mwalimu.
Okay, thank you. My name is Barasa Peter, a student of taking a Bachelor of Education. My question goes to the CS and goes directly on matters employment. How are you addressing the issue of graduate employment, unemployment, and more so the university graduates to make sure that they are job ready for them?
Thank you. Kuna mwalimu mwingine hapa na swali kuhusiana na GSS.
Kwa majina ni Josephat Mariga. Pia nami nina swali kuhusiana kitengo cha sekondari msingi, kwamba serikali imechukua hatua madhubuti kuhakikisha kwamba elimu hii inasonga mbele. imeajiri walimu, lakini kuna sehemu ambapo naomba labda tuelekezwe asua kutokana na tatizo la kutopata uongozi ambao unasimamia kitengo hicho cha JSS, kwamba je, serikali inapanga upi kuhakikisha kwamba JSS inapata uongozi ambao unasimamia kitengo hicho kikamilifu kama vijisehemu vingine. Primary schools ina wasimamizi, senior secondary school ina wasimamizi. Je, junior secondary school itapata wasimamizi lini?
My name is Lois Anduvare. My question is to the CS. ELIMU Mashinani is a good initiative, and it is one of the pillars is to strengthen a community relationship. My question is, what is the government doing to strengthen the stakeholders, that is the parents, the teachers, and the students at large? Thank you.
Naam, Sam, na hilo swali nadhani lile ambalo limeulizwa kuhusiana na GSS linafungamana na swali lingine ambalo lilikuwa liulizwe na mwenyekiti wa Kesha kuhusiana na ugavi wa rasilimali, kuhakikisha kwamba zile shule ambazo tayari zimejiendeleza ukilinganisha na zile ambazo bado zina changamoto za miundo msingi, wizara inahakikisha vipi kwamba huo ugavi wa rasilimali unafanywa kwa njia iliyo sawa? Sam.
Asante Mashirima. Now, most of these questions appear to affect the basic education sector. Do I begin with the PS and then Waziri on this one?
I could go.
Okay.
Then,
Okay,
they
you
come
go
in.
first. Yeah.
But let me first address the issue of the shortage of teachers. When this administration came into office, and from the manifesto that we had, we promised that we would employ 116,000 teachers. We've so far done 76,000 teachers. We are going to do another 24,000 teachers. That will leave us with a balance of 16,000. This is a number that is almost 30% of all the teachers that are in the country or that have been employed in the country since independence. And to do this, the government had to increase the allocation of the resources to the education sector from 682 billion in the year 24, the financial year 24-25, to 702.7 billion in the financial year 2025-2026. It goes to show that the government appreciates the challenge that is there with respect to the shortage of teachers, and we are doing something about it to ensure that that gap is bridged. On top of that, the government has allocated 950 million Kenya shillings to retool the teachers that are already in place in order for them to be able to come in and cover some of the gaps that exist in the various institutions and the various subjects. On top of that, some you could remember that this time last year, both the primary school teachers, junior school teachers, secondary school teachers, there was a lot of upheaval and there were lots and lots of strikes. That we had to negotiate with them to deal with the issues relating to their CBAs, to deal with the issues relating to the negotiation of their CBAs so that the CBAs come into operation at the beginning of their cycle instead of them being negotiated at the end of their cycle. That is what led to them negotiating the CBA for 2025-2029 to its completion in the month of June or thereabouts. This helps the teachers get motivated, and therefore they are able to do more in the institutions that they are working in. On top of that, the challenges that were there, for example, the intern teachers, who are 46,000 of them, were actually converted into permanent and pensionable beginning January this year. So as a government, we are doing things around that space to ensure that that gap is actually closed. On top of that, the statistics currently are showing that the teacher-student ratio is now at 1:29. The budget that I've talked about, it is at 28%. The UNESCO's requirement is to be at 20%. So we are 8% above the international standard that is required. So to answer that question of shortage, we are doing something about it, and we are also working towards ensuring that we rationalize the distribution of teachers so that we do not have institutions that have more teachers than they need. We are able then to move them to the schools that require them, so that we balance and ensure that there is equality and equity in that distribution. There is a question that the student of the university asked relating to the fact that we have said that university fees has reduced, but it has instead increased. That is not correct. What we did from the school fees, the cost of programs last year, an analysis was done as to what is the actual cost of each program. And we were able to reduce the cost of all the programs in universities by between 15% and 40%. So there is no way that a program that was 15% higher or 40% higher would be higher this year, unless you give me a specific case and we look at it and find out whether the actual fee has been uploaded. There are some universities, for example, that have not opened, and they probably have not uploaded the figures of these reduced fees because these figures got ready on the 15th of August, and they started uploading them from about the Monday after 15th of August. So the institutions that have opened, the 39 universities that have opened, the students who have been admitted as at 7 o'clock, at 6 o'clock there were 138,000. At 7 o'clock, and I was checking my phone here, they are at 144,000 that have already reported. These students, the report we are getting from the universities is that now, because of what we did in reducing the fees and ensuring that we are now dealing with the individual students' actual need and capacity to pay fees.
All right.
The students now, the lowest payment level of household in any of these 39 universities that have opened is 85%. Meaning, because of the rationalization that we've done, now more students are able to pay fees. And in fact, in Chuka University, the report I have, out of 6,800 students who reported, only one parent has not been able to pay the school fees. And the reason is that they have 2 students in that college. They have been able to pay for one. They have requested that they be given more time to pay. Okay. That fees has reduced to between 5,800 to 75,000. So we have been able now to address the question of affordability of university education. We've been able to address the question of sustainability because now we have more students paying. We had high fees, but low payment levels and more dropouts. So now we are going to have more students paying, more sustainability for the universities, and more retention in the universities. So it is something that we need to look at.
Yes. Waziri, because we are crossing the time, allow me to take a short break. When I come back, we'll also hear from the other from the principal secretaries also on their specific answers to some of those questions, including a university like Moi University, which obviously you know what has happened there, as learners are expected to report. We'll be back in a moment. All right, these are some of the stakeholders of Narok County talking about the experience with the competency-based education curriculum that has been under implementation, or a system of education that has been under implementation for the past 9 years or so. And we were here talking about some of the concerns that are coming from the viewers, but also the participants who are here in the audience. PS, Professor Bitok, I don't know what you have to say, especially on some of those questions that are talking about shortage and quality, knowing too well that there are some schools in this county, for instance, that you find there are only about 87 students. I'm talking about Lenkisamo Primary School has only 86 students. You're talking about Kilgoris Township with only 77 pupils. Ranke has only 49 pupils. So even as you address the question of teacher shortage, and also infrastructure, how do you deal with such a school that even the capitation, you can imagine a class of 50, a school of 50 learners with capitation of 1,400. What can that do?
Okay. Sam, as I said at the beginning, we have started embarking on verification of all the students and all the schools in the country. There's a team now working in Machakos, and they are doing a very thorough job to ensure that we verify the number of learners in each school, the school accounts, and everything for the purposes of capitation. And we expect the process to be completed by this Friday. And we expect capitation to be sent entirely, the 17 billion by next week. But in as far as the numbers are concerned, we have realized that there are very interesting results. We realized that about 1,000 schools have less than 10 students. And we have asked our county directors of education to engage the stakeholders. What do you think about these schools? How close are they to each other? What is the problem why a school would have, like for example, in JSS, today I got a report there are 25 schools with 1 student each. Is it really optimal utility of natural resources to have a school with only one student?
And how many teachers?
And quite a number of teachers also in that case. So as much as the Constitution requires us that we provide basic education, there's a conversation that we are putting across and saying, let us have a conversation about these schools for the optimal utility of resources. Now, coming to the question by Josephat about JSS leadership, according to the Presidential Working Party, they recommended that we have what we call a comprehensive school that covers ECD, primary, and junior school. By the way, there's nothing like junior secondary. This is called junior school right now. And that is captured under comprehensive school. And in addition to that, we are also leveraging on technology. We want to connect all our schools using technology in the new system called CHEMIS, together with all our higher education institutions, including TVETs. And we are saying CHEMIS will be the game changer. And we have started the journey towards CHEMIS. In the interest of time, Sam, allow me to answer the last question by Naftali, who asked about special needs education. What are we doing? And I agreed with him that disability is not inability. And that the government has started constructing 8 regional centers in every region of this country so that we're able to support our special needs education. The project is starting in the next couple of days under KISA, and we are confident that we shall provide more support to our special needs students across the country. Allow me to stop there in the rest of the time so that my colleagues also can answer. Yes. But I want to assure the country that in as far as systems of wiring capitation is concerned, capitation is underway, it is coming, and sooner or later, all our schools around the country will get their capitation. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Nyangal, I'll start with you before Dr. Moria. It's particularly on that question of university education, because yes, there has been challenges. Case in point, Moi University, currently lecturers on strike, if I'm not mistaken, and there was actually some development. There was supposed to be a declaration of redundancy. What exactly is happening in such institutions if you have to pay some particular attention to Moi University?
I'd like to confirm that Moi University lecturers are committed to teaching and supporting the students. So far, we have over 4,000 students who have reported, and they are actively undergoing orientation. And I challenge anybody here to visit Moi University and see what's going on over there. But that aside, we are working closely with these universities on 3 pillars: diversifying their funding streams, cutting down costs, and strengthening leadership. And all together, when we combine this, we know that the universities will thrive. I want to confirm that in 2022, 23 universities were technically insolvent. Now we only have 13 universities that are technically insolvent. So we are working collaboratively with the universities, and we are seeing the benefits. And Sam, if you'll allow me, let me just share a statistic that with the first years that are just joining university, 68% are actually paying between 20,000 and 5,814. Data does not lie. Finally, how are we working to prepare students to get out with the skills required for the job market? It is the whole essence of the competency-based education. We are not just teaching students to cram, but to come out with skills that can enable them to communicate, to collaborate, to think creatively and critically, to create employment opportunities, but also to reach out and seize opportunities out in the labor market, in Kenya and outside the country.
Right. Dr. Moria, I don't know if you have any reactions to some of the concerns that have come from the audience.
Thank you, Sam. I would like to continue slightly from where she's left because somebody asked about being job ready. Industry out here now is not about what you are carrying, what level of certificate you are carrying. It is about what you can do. So by the time you finish the training at whatever level, please ensure that as a person, you can tell the world what you can do. And for us at the TVET level, whatever level that you are leaving any training, we are ensuring that the curricula that we are teaching, some is industry relevant. We are teaching from industry, with industry, for industry. And therefore, we want to encourage even those who are leaving universities. We have now modularized our curricula so that we are training you for 3 months and certifying you. So I'll give an example. There are young people from university we trained at Meru National Polytechnic in gypsum technology. One of those boys' friends told me, now my friend anakula na ile kinjiko kubwa, because there is something they can do. So what I want to encourage you, even as you leave grade 12, you have about 9 months to join university. Come to the TVET institutions. We will be able to train you in what you want, what you like, and certify you in the first 3 months, in the second 3 months, right. And after that, you are job ready, because our curricula is drawn right from industry, and we are able to train you to join that industry.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Esther Moria, Dr. Beatrice Nyangala, Waziri Julius Ugamba, and Professor Julius Bitoko for making time for us for this conversation. Of course, time is not enough, but we have so much to cover in the coming weeks and months as we come to a county that is near you on ELIMU Mashinani. Mashirima?
Naam, mtazamaji, hadi wiki ijayo, usiku mwema.